Hello guys, and the Kremlin is cornered. That is exactly why they made this desperate move and blocked all kinds of messengers all over the Russian Federation. And now even Putin's greatest admirers cannot support this idea, understanding its devastating consequences for the thousands of Russian soldiers who communicated via telegram on the front lines. And thousands of people in regions like Belgorod, which is an active war zone, where they rely on the information about the air raid alerts coming from the telegram channels. And everyone understands that the main reason for such shutdowns is Putin's big problems. During this war, he destroyed the Russian economy. They have serious problems with their army, with utilities all over the Russian Federation, and they fear nationwide protests. And how do you organize them? Right, with the help of various messengers that since today are not operating in the Russian Federation. So the Kremlin is ready to sacrifice millions of people, of their soldiers on the front lines, people in regions like Belgorod, for the sake of Putin's regime survival. But I doubt this will help him. Let's discuss what Russian military vloggers, political experts, and even Strelkov-girkin, once Putin's favorite soldier and now one of his greatest opponents, say about this decision and what it tells us about the fears and panic inside the Kremlin. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia that has already started, subscribe and follow all the updates together with our beautiful community. Do share these videos. This makes me very happy and proud, plus that's honestly very important as the world is still extremely Moscow-centered. So let's begin with a brief update. Yesterday there were reports about the slowdown of Telegram all over the Russian Federation, and today I literally spent all the day watching whining Russian vloggers, various deputies, and even the governor of the Belgorod region who once again spoke against Putin. And all because millions of people in his region, that is an active war zone with explosions on various military sites, with problems with heating, utilities, with the need to evacuate a lot of them to safer regions, that Governor Gladkov definitely relied on Telegram as a source of communication with millions of these people, providing them with some excuses, addressing them, and simply informing them about the air raid alerts, because that's exactly what Russians brought back to their territories when they wanted this special military operation and finally got it on their own territory. So he was very disappointed again with the fact that Telegram channels are not working, and literally he uses the main channel of communication with his people. Here in Ukraine, I don't trust Telegram, but this is one of the sources where people get updates about air raid alerts. And believe me, this is very important. Sometimes it is literally vital. So another humanitarian problem which arises from the fact of blocked Telegram channels is the fact that various Russian military vloggers were trying to collect money to back up the Russian war criminals with the things they need. You know that the Russian army was not prepared for this extremely exhausting war, and they lack a lot of basic things. So some of such that vloggers were helping them with various things, and now they lose this platform. Thumbs up for that, because this means more possibilities for the Ukrainian soldiers for our counteroffensive, which, by the way, has already started in the Zaporizhia region. So the Kremlin tries to push everyone to move to this state-created Max messenger. Nobody trusts it, nobody wants to use it. Plus, honestly, even if it was your personal choice to move from one platform to another, that's what we do sometimes when Musk disappoints us. It takes time. And you do understand that you may lose hundreds of thousands of followers, and it will take years to get a similar audience on a new platform. And they don't have time for that. The war is super exhausting. The Russian economy is super exhausting. And everything that they were collecting was already pretty miserable. And now they are desperate. But perhaps the greatest problem was created for the Russian soldiers who actively relied on Starlink. It is gone, thank you. But they also rely on Telegram. This is their main channel of communication where they receive updates about the situation, where they communicate with each other on what to do next, where to hide, where to escape. That's the only decision, the right decision they can make. And they stay in touch with their families. And we're talking about millions of people affected. And now Starlink is off. The Russian internet to substitute it does not exist. And they've lost access to Telegram. And WhatsApp is not working. And YouTube is not working. So we may say that right now, what millions and millions of Russians experience is this real digital collapse. And this digital collapse was 100 inspired by one and only Kremlin goblin Vladimir Putin. And you can guess why. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think is the main reason for such closures of main, extremely popular, and trust me, not anti-Russian messengers? Because here in Ukraine, we always knew that Telegram is controlled partially by FSB, that Durov, its founder, who traditionally copies various messengers from the Western platforms and introduces them in Russia. But anyway, nobody trusted them. That's why I never invite you to Telegram or WhatsApp. Remember, these are always scammers. But it exists. If you want it, you may use it. I do read some Russian Telegram channels. I read a lot there, some like yellow pages. And Durov, the author of this, the owner of this messenger, you know, like the copy of Elon Musk of this Russian plagiarism. And he was devastated with this decision because he was extremely cooperative. And now he compares Russia to Iran because that's exactly what the Iran regime did. Switching off internet, switching off messengers to prevent people from communicating with each other, from organizing protests against the evil. And here I need to remind you that I personally stand firm with the people of Iran, with beautiful Persian people who must liberate themselves from this evil and violence. Ukrainians, stand with you. If you have someone watching from Iran, if you have this opportunity now, or you are Iranian elsewhere, remember, we know how you feel and we stand together with you. And I believe that regime will not survive long, and this domino effect of various authoritarian rulers is just beginning, and 2026 will be really bad for Putin, for Khamenei, and for many, many more. So anyway, this is clearly a sign that Kremlin is very much afraid of protests that are growing. And we discussed that in the Far East, in the Far North, around Moscow, nationwide protests of taxi drivers against taxes and gasoline crisis and prices and all of that. And where do they connect? Where do they coordinate their actions? Right in Telegram channels. That's why since today they do not have Telegram, they do not have WhatsApp. Imagine, Russia is the largest country in the world with millions of people who are family, friends, relatives, and they were actively using these channels. So before making this step, perhaps the Kremlin had to choose all the other options, because the reaction is very negative, even from the deputies of the Russian State Duma, even from the vloggers who are in all the other aspects very supportive of Putin. And Girkin, strelkov-girkin, the author of the annexation of Crimea, Donetsk, Lugansk, one of these first leaders of the Russian private armies, now imprisoned, simply said, do not believe anyone who says that they blocked Telegram because of some NATO interference or fighting the Western propaganda. I'm sorry, the West hasn't even started yet, unfortunately. But they are hiding the truth about the state of the Russian economy, about the state of the Russian army, about the potential conscription to the Russian army, general conscription that everybody fears in Russia, and they prevent people from organizing protests, organizing groups of disobedience and something like that. This is a desperate move that nobody even around Putin supported. And by the way, I think that he agreed to make this decision, or he maybe demanded this decision, because he is not an internet user. He's extremely goblin analog, and he never gets any information from the internet. I'm not saying that's the only source, but in the 21st century, I believe we need to agree to be a leader. You have to at least know how to use social media, how to read news on various websites, and Putin does not do that. And perhaps he believes that the Russian soldiers have some kind of the Russian internet, some kind of closed army channels, or that Max messengers that they are offering are superb only because he literally knows nothing about these technologies. And this also says that after a quarter of century of his rule, he is definitely very outdated for this planet. Just imagine for a second something similar happening in your country. Perhaps the wave would destroy the regime very quickly, and I think the Kremlin now senses a very similar danger. For the first time since the collapse of the USSR, the new collapse is approaching. Thumbs up for that. Watch a new video on Anna Danilchuk channel where we discuss what is more likely, a military coup or a political coup against Putin. Let me know in comments below, how do you think? What is the main reason for blocking all of these messengers? Remember to share and like these videos and subscribe, because half of the audience who watches this video aren't yet subscribed. Do join the community. We are super friendly and kind. And follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord, and Substack for a weekly newsletter. Check the merch shop, the new drop is there. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channels, but most importantly, thank you for standing with Ukraine. Slava Ukraini!